المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. Ooh. Today, I thought we could start going back into talking about Allah's names and understanding why we study Allah's names. And then I'll pick a name and we can begin working with that. The idea here is when you're dealing with matter in this universe, it's usually some combination of Allah's names. You won't see a single name. It's usually a combination of. And so knowing how they work together helps us understand how Allah is behind everything, behind every manifestation. There's an aspect of Allah. And if you know how to look for it and understand it, you may be able to get more out of the situation that you're in. Does it make sense? So that you can see what Allah is trying to do here. And then you can also, with your zikr, maybe even guide it towards something that you can understand. So the idea of Allah's manifestations is going behind the curtain, is the way I think of it. And that each one of Allah's names is a portal, a doorway, an energy form that you can enter and perceive the world from that perspective. And there's at least 99 of these kinds of perspectives. So picking a name for the day or for the week, or just going around and going, okay, well, there's Ya Nur plus a little bit of Ya Hay. There's this, there's Ya Qadir, there's Ya Haq. Just learning how to see Allah's names as you go throughout your day. It keeps you connected and it keeps your other kind of thinking alive as you're going about your activities. So today's name, let's pick a name. Al-Majid. He is the most majestic and glorious. Allah Most High is glorious and majestic in the whole of his creation and beyond. No hand reaches him, no power can touch him, yet he is closer to his servants than their own souls. He has love and compassion for them that are far greater than their own care for themselves. His bounties are infinite, there is no end to his mercy. His state is pure perfection, and his acts are pure wisdom. In the meaning of Al-Majid, there are two elements. One is his majesty, his power, which keeps him above and beyond any attempt to reach him, and for which he is respected and feared. The other is his glory and honor, as shown in his beautiful actions and states, for which he is praised and loved. It behooves good servants, in consideration of the glory and honor of our Lord, to be sincere, serious, and pure in our devotions to him, as well as in all our doings, thereby seeking his pleasure. A servant should recoil from arrogance, hypocrisy, and lies. Those who realize the majesty and the honor of their Lord, who are faithful and who join him, seeking only his pleasure, receive strength and honor themselves. Abd al-Majid, that is the slave or servant of al-Majid, is the one whose character and morals are perfected. Such persons are honored among people and the rest of creation because of their beautiful behavior toward them. All right, so that brings up a question that had been earlier this week about Adab, about how to do the right Adab at the right time. And the thing is that that's always changing. And in thinking about Al-Majid and the idea of our love for Allah, to understand that with Allah's love coming to his creation, it comes in many flavors, many colors, many scents, And to think that Allah's love only looks like this or this is limiting. Everything that we see and that we're a part of is his love. And understanding that love in our lives can have many different ways of both perceiving and receiving. For example, Alameen and I were talking the other day about how to deal with a neighbor who, as one is doing renovations, sometimes crosses over. Do you want to talk about that, Alameen?
Do you want me to be specific, Sheikh, or just
as general as you can be?
Oh no, it's just I think my question to Sheikh, or not question, but I was telling about I had this situation with a neighbour about how there's a part of me that wants to do the right thing and do the Adab thing about keeping peace and obviously trying to keep the lines nice, communication lines nice and open. But at times I feel that this one gets taken advantage of. So I was just talking to Sheikh about where is the line of Adab, doing the right thing and doing the right thing, trying to have Allah in one's forefront of consciousness of doing the right thing, but at the same time being in the moment and saying, well, enough's enough. And having your own my own energetic boundaries, and letting the other person know that's enough, even though that may mean that there may be tension or the other person may be annoyed with me, but it probably be the right thing. It's the right thing to do at the time. Hopefully I explained that, Sheikh.
Yeah.
Maybe you should then.
Well, it's the idea is the right thing at the right time, knowing the right words for this place and time, because that's always changing. So, for example, with kids, you have to let them know where the line is, because if you don't, they will certainly push until they find out what that is. And if you just keep giving it away, they'll just keep pushing. And that also works with, let's call them adults, because I don't have a better word for it, who might do the same thing, who are working from, what they learned as a kid, as a child, and therefore they're still pushing. And maybe they're pushing because they want to show something about themselves or whatever it is. But it's not appropriate for civilized behavior, pushing somebody. So the idea is, how do I deal with that? How do I deal with somebody who's pushy, or who always is taking advantage of me, or is interrupting me, or is becoming won't let go of this subject when we're trying to do something else? They're not aware. And with this one person, this wasn't Alameen, this was with another. How do we deal with our family who might be doing the same thing and who actually know very well how to yank our chains or push our buttons? Well, the problem is that for a lot of us in learning, as we grew up, we learned how to be nice because that's what you're supposed to do. But in doing so, you're also giving up the ability to know your own self. And so that gets lost in the process. So how do you keep your authentic, true self and yet still deal with people? Is good question, yes? So the first thing is, what are you responsible for? Our responsibility is to keeping this one integral, in the sense of keeping our connection with Allah and knowing that that's our primary relationship. That's number one. That without that connection to Allah, everything else is going to be mushy. So identifying that as that is the number one connection that I have to keep close and tight. When things get a little bit fuzzy with that is when things tend to go fuzzy themselves. Therefore, what do I do to maintain some kind of integrity throughout the day or when I'm with my family? And this is going to happen because this is the holiday time and you will be forced to endure families of various kinds. So how best to deal with it? One, know that you are responsible for what your choices are about how you choose to act. If you react, then you have let go of that responsibility. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It means it would help if you could recognize that. Yes.
One thing I learned recently was that sometimes doing nothing can also be reactive. As in, you know, you want to, for me, it's a reaction of being overwhelmed, is to shut down and not, and disengage and do less or do, shut the communication off. But then if you do that, then you're making a choice as well, and it's a reactive choice. And then there are consequences to especially not communicating. Even if other people are not great communicators, you still have a responsibility to communicate as well as you can. And therefore, if you don't use your full capacity of communication and something goes wrong, then you feel the shame of that later when there's consequence. Not that you have to, you know, you're not responsible for other people, but for me, it's like there were a couple of situations recently where I'm like, oh, well, they're just being like that, so I'm just going to let go of it, and whatever happens, happens, you know? But that was irresponsible because people were depending on the outcome. And instead of what was necessary was to engage in the difficult conversations, which doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be conflict. If, like your Sheikh says, you stick with Adab, you express your concerns and your confusions and you try and work through it. And just like you were saying with kids, it's easy to jump to the reactive response. It's hard to stay engaged and keep communication open and to communicate without emotional attachment and without investment in outcome. Really tricky. But that's what I think Allah expects us to do as like mature. That's what mature people do. They stay present and they work through it, and they don't run away or start fighting or, you know, get upset or all that kind of thing. You just got to do it, you know, even if it's uncomfortable. That's the tricky part.
That's correct. I totally agree with you. And the idea of looking at these moments when we are in conversation or discussions with other people is to look at them, if you can look at them as a training ground, not as a final result, or that I'm being attacked, or however way you're looking at it, but to see it as this is an opportunity for me to see if I can be better at being clear and being true and being sincere. And one doesn't always get to do that because they're going to be what they're going to be. And a lot of times we haven't cleared out that set of nefs connected with that person's connection to you. So especially if they've raised you or they know you really well, brother, sister, family, whatever it is. So part of the practice of becoming the word would be non-attached, but that isn't correct. It's more of like not identifying with an aspect that you used to have.
I like the word heartful that we've been using. That works for me. It's like attached to your heart, not attached to anything else.
Yeah, that's good.
Like
Thank you.
Like you're engaged and you're present, but you're not attached to the naps or the expectations.
Yes, or at least you try.
Yeah, like that's the ideal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and sometimes using Allah's names helps you through that. When you're working on, okay, right now it's Ya Salam, just Ya Salam. There's a lot of different waves going on, and we're going to be like a cork on the ocean and float up and float down. We're not going to sink. So you work out these strategies as you work through these maneuvers, if you will, navigation, to learn how to get through that. As a matter of fact, one way to think of it as navigating is using Allah as your GPS, so that you have a source that you are connected to and able to assess within your heart what the reality is that's going on. We don't know all the realities, but we can know the reality within us, within our heart, by asking, okay, Allah, what's going on here? I feel really confused. Yeah, what's happening? And you may get a comment from your heart. Passive aggressive in momentum here. You go, oh, right. Yeah, that's the guilt. Right. Oh, okay. I don't have to buy it, but I see it. In dealing with kids, they're going to be using every tactic that they've learned up to this point to either get your goat, push the wall, just see how far they can push, because they want to know what is my limits. As a matter of fact, that's maybe one way to think of a child, is they're learning what their limits are, and that's changing day to day. I've gotten stuck thinking that my son is at this place here and he needs this, but he's already passed way beyond that. It's like that was yesterday. And catching up is part of the process as well, and being flexible and adapting to the needs of this moment. That's why Adab is more like balancing in the very present moment. And the thing is that most of the people that you'll be around are not in that place. Kids are generally, but adults, they're in the past and the future. They're not necessarily in the present because they're still working out why they're here and what they're doing. So this is the time of familiarization, these next couple weeks. Rita, have you ever read Secret of Secrets?
No, I haven't read this one, but I did read The Secret that was recommended by Oprah.
Oh yeah, that one. Okay.
Yeah.
A little different.
The law of attraction. You will get whatever you want in your life. You just have to manifest it.
Yeah.
With your thoughts. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Did you get a car? You get a car. You get a car. Everybody gets a car.
I know, and it doesn't even work. Like, I can sit here and think, car, please come to my life, car. It just doesn't work. And that's why, it's good to talk about something like Al-Majid, which is, the most honorable, most glorious, linked with another Allah's name, which is Majid, which again then links with the word Mujahid, which means soldier. And it took me a while. I'm like, oh, okay, so it means honorable, but which level of honor is it referring to, this name? And so I had to quickly just do a little bit of a Google search, and I'm like, it's linked to the honor that we have in the context of mujahid, which is like a soldier within the Muslim.
Yes, and that mujahideen, that means you are a warrior of peace against your own nafs.
That's it. That's right. Because even the word mujahid then links to the word jihad, which again means struggle against your own ego. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the final struggle is within. Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah.
Just on the manifesting thing, like I've read that book. It's funny. It's not wrong. It just left out the really important ingredient, which is the inshallah.
You mean the action?
Well, no, the inshallah. Like we can want whatever we want. We can hope for it, pray for it, intend for it, work towards it. But we're not the boss.
If Allah wills, yes, of course you can have
We're
it.
not
but
in charge.
if
So we can't just make whatever we want to happen because we're not God.
So
Like,
the
we're
real
limited.
secret is, what does your heart say? What does your heart desire? What does your heart want? And the heart for each person is going to be a little different, but it's going to be about sincerity, humility, and might I say this, fakir, the idea of poverty. Why is that so important in what Jesus taught, as well as all the other prophets? Why can't we manifest? Because then you are attaching to that world of change, which the Buddha said, well, you do that and you will suffer. That's where pain lives.
That's your idol then.
Yeah, that becomes your
Whatever
idol,
that
and
thing
yeah,
is, that's becomes your God. And then if you don't get it, then you're upset, and then it's just, yeah.
yeah. And there might be another angle on this in our relationship with Allah, because if we're not happy with what we got, Allah might be saying, well, if you're not happy with what I give you, what's the point of giving you anything? Because you don't appreciate it, I'll just take it back. Never mind. That's all right. You go ahead. And it's kind of like, it would be better if we were grateful for what we have and what's going on now. We can be, and as my sheikh used to say, is like, thank Allah for the good things that you have. And if, it isn't such a great thing, you say, Alhamdulillah. All praise belongs to Allah, not to us, nor to our manifestations.
Yeah, I was just going to add a sentence which Shaykh Ibrahim said like about 8 years ago. He said that there is no honor in people anymore. I remember that sentence quite clearly because it was such a powerful statement at the time I heard it. And today when we're talking about Al-Majid, that statement has returned to me, and I'm like, Sheikh was saying that like 9 years ago, 8 years ago. And even when I look at people today, it's the same. People don't have honor. And what did he mean by that? It was like, people don't keep their word. They don't keep their promises. They are different inside from what they're outside. And there's so many multiple layers when we talk about honor. It means different things in different cultures. Certainly, like the standards of honor and dignity that I see in Australia are very different to, say, Pakistan, which my culture is. But overall, yeah, like I just wish that we were picking on a lot more of that Al-Majid energy and bringing that more of that honor in our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Let me just follow up on that, and Robert will listen. The idea, when I'm saying that, is like the idea of your word. And where it came from with that was, what if you took away everything? You took away, your limbs, you took away your sight, take away everything. What's left is your honor. Because that you can't be taken away, but you also have to be able to sustain it as well. So, yeah, your promises, what you do to follow through, that's all important. Okay, Robert.
If we're in a situation where we don't have a clear signal from our heart and we need to make a decision, let's say it's something creative, right? You were writing a new song and you needed to pick a direction, or something more substantial than that, like taking a new job or something like that. How do we delineate when that's something that? Well, I guess I'm answering my own question. I guess where I was going with that was how do we know when that's something that we're attached to, versus we just need to make a decision. We're evaluating all our options, but I guess if we're attached to it, then that's kind of the signal itself. Sorry.
No, that's good.
That's
a good question. I understand, I think. The idea that if you're working on your nafs and you're not sure about what your attachments are, that means that you're in the process. And that the whole thing is a process. And one of those things that happens is when you're ready, and this is how Allah works. When you turn to Him and you say, I want to know you, Allah goes, okay, here we go. And you learn, for example, that you have an attachment to some clothing, a certain kind of style that you want to wear. And somebody makes a remark about it saying, you're behind the times with that, what you're wearing, for example. And you feel a reaction. You feel like, oh, ow, that hurts. That's an attachment. That is nafs. And everybody has their own collection, if you will, of attachments. And that when you take on a path like this, then your job is to start to go through your collection and go, do I need this? Is this important? Can I let go of it? If you have difficulty like letting go of it, that's an attachment. That means you need some work on that, and that may require some help or assistance.
Keep it short. Thank you, Sheikh.
But the idea of manifesting, that whole idea is, okay, this is my opinion here. It's just an opinion, is that because of Western culture, which is based on accumulation and becoming more and more stuff because that's what defines you, that manifesting is a natural outgrowth of that desire of turning worldly things and things of the world of matter and change into something spiritual, which is, they don't fit. That doesn't even make any sense. But of course, people are going to do it because they can and because people. Yeah, boy.
I was going to say, I think, like, it's a tricky one, right? Because you can also get attached to the fakir thing and
That's
be
right.
afraid of material wealth and success and all that kind of stuff, or what Western culture calls success. But I think either way, like you say, the attachment is the problem. If the material is in the service of something higher, it kind of makes sense. But if the accumulation is the goal for its own sake, I'm just thinking when you say like the material and the spiritual don't go together, like kind of, except it's like it's more just your idea of what the material is the problem. Like, because stuff is just stuff, like, and you don't, whenever you think you have it, you don't have it anyway. We don't actually own anything. We just interact with it.
Sheikh used to talk about, what life is like? There's all these people with their clans in this room, and they're all gathering all this gold, and they're piling it up in the gold, and they're having a really good time gathering that gold. Maybe he's taking it from over there and over there, and they pile up the gold. And then somebody comes into the room and says, number 16, come with me. And they have to get up and go out the room and leave all that gold behind.
And people can have different kinds of gold as well. Sorry, Alamin, go.
That's all right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was just saying, like, for some people, the gold is not money. It's knowledge. Like worldly, like intellectual knowledge.
Sure.
For some people, it's status, or even like spirituality can become that for some people. The I'm spiritual and thou art kind of weird thing. Like all these different ways that we attach to something that we think makes us bigger, but it actually makes us smaller, which
That's right.
It isolates us from love. Just weird how we do that. And sorry,
let me just take that for a second. The idea of the maqams is that generating of awareness as you move through these different points of reference. You're seeing the world through these different eyes or windows, and you have to go through all of them to come out the other side to go, you know what? It's all connected. There isn't anything that isn't anything else. It's all part of the same thing. And then there's Allah who's watching the show, and I would rather be part of that than the show itself because it ends. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, exactly. But yeah, that's what I was going. Alamin, did you want to say something before?
Oh, yeah, no, it's all right. We were just following on, just sort of backtracking a bit on the discussion of manifestation, and I was just reflecting. Maybe I've been a little bit guilty of that in the past, but through visualization, and maybe it's the same thing, but more so for me, it's been about relationships where there's been a bit of misunderstanding or a bit of tension. So as well as praying for there to be peace, but visualizing being with these people and having sort of a peaceful, harmonious resolution. So that's maybe not the ideal thing to do either, Sheikh, from what I'm hearing. And it's because you're possibly attaching yourself to the situation. I mean, for me, when I've done that, this been a little bit of an understanding of, okay, whatever happens, it's up to Allah. But yeah, now I'm just talking about it. Maybe there is a little bit of personal investment as well in that. So maybe visualization, I suppose the question is visualization in that respect isn't maybe an ideal way of going about things either.
No, I think it's important to have an idea about something that you might need. I mean, Allah is Wahhab, He's the giver. He allows us to receive things. And if we don't say anything, then you're okay with that. But at the same time, we have needs. We have to have provision for our family. We have to eat. We have to, pay rent and bills and things. And it's nice to know that there's Razak, that Allah is Razak, the provider, and to see that from Allah's point of view. I will provide for you. I will take care of you. But as with a lot of things like forgiveness, you have to ask for it. You have to put that into motion. Not that you are expecting anything, but more like you have that energy of knowing this is where the source is. If you go to the source and you stay connected to it, then you're okay with that. And as you were saying earlier, Mui, about inshallah, if Allah wills. But you can also ask Allah, please guide me on the path that you're happy with. Show me what I need. Show me what I need to do to make this occur, make this happen. And sometimes, we want to know the truth of something. What is the haqq of this reality here that I'm looking at? How much of that is true? How much should I put myself into that for? What's the best thing for this one to move forward? What's the best way, and to ask Allah to guide you on that. Ya Hadi, the guide. And that's what those names are for, is so that you can go right to the source and stay connected and stay with your heart. And of course, you can abuse any of them, because humans are really good at that. We can turn something and just make it exactly the opposite. It's so interesting. One of the choices we can have. We need stuff, so let's make it our goal to have stuff. Okay, well, yeah, you can do that. But the secret part of this is whatever you're looking for, that is what you will see, and that is what you will become. Because you've taken this thing that's connected to the rest of the universe, and you've just taken that massive possibility and turned it into this very small window of, like, I want to see the universe like this. And the universe goes, okay, not going to argue with you. Just whatever you attach to, you're going to have to become unattached to at some point. That is also one of those secrets. That's a law. Anything in this world is going to go. It's already in motion. It's already changing. So what do? You make the connection to Allah, which is not changing, which is always there for us. Questions, comments?
Is it okay if I add something?
Sure.
Cool. Yeah, so I think it's so interesting, like around Christmas time, as social workers, like we start getting a lot of homeless people coming in, wanting stuff, because they can't afford to. And we're definitely getting these cases where they're blowing away on, they're blowing their money away on Christmas presents and Christmas shopping, and they haven't paid their rent for the last 2 months. And we're like, mate, like crisis accommodation isn't going to help you that much. You really need to save up. February, the school is going to start. You need to also pay money, like for school fee for your kids. You need to think practically. You need to think about that. And I remember like this one particular lady that she's now placed in community housing. And when she went through divorce with her partner, she ended up losing everything, like her house, her stuff, everything. So now that the community house she has been allocated, she's just hoarding everything there, like KFC, tomato sauce, to tissues, like stuff she doesn't even need, like straws. And I was asking my supervisor, I'm like, why do you think this person is hoarding so much stuff? Like, what is she trying to hold on to? And she's like, Rita, it's like she has lost everything in the past. So she's now trying to make up for that by hoarding onto everything and holding onto every piece of material she gets, that comes by, food vouchers, coupons, whatever. And it's scary watching that.
Yeah, but
it's
you see that she's going to continue doing that until she can trust that things are going to stay where she puts them.
That's right. Like unless like a human being, puts trust in God that God will provide, inshallah, and therefore I don't need to hold on to every single thing every single day, mate. Like I don't need to, hold on to so much. But so many people, again, it goes back to that personal insecurity that I should just hoard more, hold on to all my material possessions. I'm seeing people collecting citizenships of different countries. Like they would become a New Zealand citizen and then Australian citizen, then they'll go to UK, become citizens there, become citizens of Canada. I'm like, why are you collecting citizenships? People that are collecting degrees for no reason. People that are just collecting likes on Facebook, likes on Instagram. And it's like you see a lot of that. And in all of their heads, they're all trying to manifest a certain version of themselves. Whereas if we as human beings just try to be the best version according to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we probably don't need to work so hard to maintain this ideal or idealistic like version of yourself that is going to get left behind in this world.
Yeah. Oy.
Just want to move that just slightly this way.
A little louder.
I just wanted to take that same idea, but like let's move it slightly a little bit, just a tiny bit of a different angle, and look at those people and ourselves, because we all do it. So first thing is not to go, those people do this, but I don't. And the second thing is to look at that through the eye of compassion. Someone is in that place because they have been taught that by their experiences. It's like how refugees, are always worried about saving every penny, or safety, obsessed with safety, because life has taught them that things are not safe. So and yes, it's naps because now you're in a different place, things are different. But the compassion of understanding that human beings take time for these things to heal and change as well. And we all have this problem. If we are living today based on our experience of yesterday. And we try, of course, if you were stateless, then you're going to want to get as many citizenships as you can because it's a precaution. If you were penniless, you're going to want to amass wealth. I mean, that's the migrant experience. All of the migrants that I know, and Alamin probably has the same experience, all the Maltese people that came over with nothing. And so their life was all about building and building and buying and building and buying all this property because they wanted to have something to give to their children and their grandchildren. But then it gets twisted. And it becomes about accumulation for the sake of accumulation. But there is a real trauma or core trauma there, which is informing how these things get twisted. And that has to be healed. And if it's not healed by this person, it's going to have to be healed by the next generation or the next generation, because these things get passed on. So, yes, we're all crazy and we're all doing these silly things, but we have to, I think, just look at it from that point of we have to take the judgment out because we all do it. Especially if I'm seeing something in someone else and I'm feeling like annoyed by it, or it's triggering me. It's probably something I'm doing, but in a different way too.
The through line on that is whenever you feel a reaction, even if it's disgust or disappointment or anything, that's on you. That's you. You have that aspect reflected back at you. And if you feel something about it, you feel bad about it, then you have to look within yourself. So, part one. Part two, the whole thing is a process. We're all on our way to Allah. Nobody can stop that. How they look at that is their choice. But most people are starting in their own place, and we have no right to judge them because we don't want to be judged. And the final factor of that one is Allah is Hakim. Allah is the judge. The only thing that we have that is our responsibility is to ourselves, and to show through our actions and our words what a good human being might look like. In other words, we're taking the model of our prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, what he said and what he did, as a model of what good behavior looks like, and we want to do that. And the idea that somebody is lost in some kind of attachment to things or books or whatever they're in, that's their responsibility, and we're not here to fix them. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is our relationship to Allah. If that's in a good place, then we'll know what needs to be done in whatever situation that we're in. And very often, it's by showing compassion and mercy and understanding, because we are all the same in that way. We are all messed up. We all have problems. We all have attachments. And we're trying to take responsibility for that, but that does not mean we're perfect, nor can we look down on anybody else. But we have good models of behavior in the prophets and the saints and our sheikhs and sheikhas and peers, and those are the ones that we would like to act like and be like through. I'm going to go back to a question before. What do you do if you're trying to do adab and you don't get anything from your heart? Well, then you default to the adab. What would help the best in this situation? Sometimes it's saying nothing. Sometimes it's by giving a hug. You don't have to say anything. Sometimes it's by listening with your heart. It's not necessarily big acts. It's about listening to what's needed in this moment, which is different than the last moment. Shaykhibrahim minashaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amen. Salaam Alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, thank you, Sheikh. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shaykh. Walaikum assalam.
Thank you.
Okay. Allah.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Rita.
Same. Take care. Bye.
Salaam Alaykum, murids, seekers, curious, and interested listeners. We appreciate you and are happy to share our Sufi message. Your donation will help support our Sufi Center in Sydney, where we do zikr, sohbet, spiritual counseling, and healing services. We believe the message should be free, but it costs equipment, rental, services, software, and hardware to get this to you. So thank you for choosing our podcast among all the millions available. If you go to our website, AnsariSufiOrder.org, you will be able to donate through PayPal whatever you think this information is worth to you. Blessings and love, the Australian Ansari Sufi Order.